Hey there. Happy Valentine's Day.
And to you.
Got a big one for you today. We're going to get you ready for that meeting about Captain America, Brave New World, and, well, what it all means for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, right?
Sounds intense.
You bet. You sent over, let's see, Wikipedia, a Time article, and even a German review. Someone's been doing their homework.
Uh-huh. Someone has.
We've got behind-the-scenes changes, links to movies you might not even remember, and some serious hints about the future.
All right, well, let's not waste any time.
Exactly. Let's dive right in, huh? To Wikipedia, of course. You know, the backbone of any good deep dive. So, Captain America, Brave New World, directed by Julius Ona. It comes out, well, Valentine's Day, actually. The big news, of course, is Anthony Mackie. He's taking on the shield, officially stepping into those, Chris Evans-sized shoes.
A changing of the guard. Big moment for a franchise, always. This isn't just another sequel. This is, well, it's a statement about what Captain America represents going forward.
Absolutely. Now the plot thickens with President Ross, played by, none other than Harrison Ford.
Well,
pushing for a global treaty to control superhumans. But surprise, surprise, we've got mysterious attacks on world leaders.
Oh, really? So it's a classic political thriller setup then.
Yeah.
Instantly raises the stakes, throws suspicion everywhere. Who do you trust when even those at the top aren't safe?
Right. Exactly. So Captain America's on the case, obviously, and the trail leads him to, well, Samuel Stearns, a.k.a. the leader. Turns out he's had a long-standing grudge against Ross.
What?
And things are about to get explosive.
Okay.
We're talking serious action, political maneuvering, and even a Red Hulk appearance.
That Hulk, now that's a deep cut. I bet most people have forgotten about the Incredible Hulk way back in 2008.
Yeah, 2008.
It's a smart move by Marvel, though, to tie this new film back to a lesser-known corner of their cinematic universe.
Yeah, they love to do that. It's all about those interconnected storylines, right?
Oh.
Speaking of connections, the cast list is packed. Liv Tyler's back as Betty Ross. Shira Haas is joining the MCU as some kind of super spy. And we've even got Tim Blake Nelson returning as Samuel Stearns after all these years.
It's more than just fan service, though. It reinforces the sense that the MCU is a living, breathing world, with a rich history. It rewards longtime fans and adds depth to the story.
Absolutely. Now, speaking of history, the production section on Wikipedia mentions that the film was originally titled New World Order before being changed to Brave New World. Apparently, they wanted to avoid some unfortunate real-world connotations.
I don't see why. A title change like that is never just a PR move. Yeah. It suggests that Marvel's being mindful of, the current political climate and how their work might be interpreted. Could this indicate a more thoughtful approach to, politically charged themes within the film itself?
Interesting point. And get this, there were some serious reshoots. They changed the main villain from a wrestler character to Giancarlo Esposito's Sidewinder.
Wow.
That's a pretty big shift late in the game.
Yeah, it is. Reshoots happen, sure. Yeah. But changing the villain suggests a major reevaluation of the narrative. It makes you wonder what prompted such a drastic change.
Okay, all right. Now let's move on to the Time article. Things get even more interesting here. They're saying that Brave New World is absolutely jam-packed with subplots and references to other Marvel properties, even more so than usual. We're talking Eternals, The Incredible Hulk, and more.
I see. This level of interconnectedness, the double-edged sword, for dedicated fans, it's like a treasure hunt. It rewards them for paying attention to the larger MCU. But for casual viewers, it could feel overwhelming, like they're constantly playing catch-up.
Yeah, it can be a lot. And here's where it gets really juicy. The article claims that Brave New World is laying the groundwork for 2 upcoming Avengers films.
Oh.
They specifically mention the discovery of adamantium.
Hello, Wolverine.
Wolverine. The adamantium reveal is a brilliant move. It ties back to the Eternals film, which, let's be honest, many people have already forgotten about.
That's true.
But more importantly, it sets the stage for the introduction of mutants, specifically the X-Men. Without needing a lengthy origin story, it's a clever way to integrate them into the MCU, quickly and efficiently.
Yeah, they got to do it somehow. And then there's this cryptic warning from Samuel Stearns about a war brewing between parallel universes. Sounds a lot like Secret Wars from the comics, right?
Secret Wars. That's one of the biggest events in Marvel Comics history. It involves a multiversal collapse, a battle royale between, well, various heroes and villains. If this film is hinting at that storyline, we're talking about a a massive, potentially game-changing event for the MCU. It would impact everything. This is directly relevant to your meeting. Will they be discussing how to handle such a complex and ambitious storyline on screen? That's a great question. Now, the Time article also seems to suggest that Marvel is feeling the pressure to replace its original star power. They're bringing in heavy hitters, like Harrison Ford and Pedro Pascal. Is this a sign of desperation? Maybe even worry about declining quality?
It's certainly a valid concern. The original Avengers cast had undeniable chemistry and charisma. That's difficult to replicate. Marvel's strategy seems to be bringing in established names to lend credibility and attract a wider audience. But the real question is, will audiences connect with, Sam Wilson's Captain America? Yeah. The same way they did with Steve Rogers. That's the true test of the film's success.
Yeah, big shoes to fill. Okay. And finally, let's talk about that German review. They're not as impressed. They call the movie self-serious and say it's lacking humor.
I see. A lack of humor could be a problem for some viewers. Marvel movies are known for balancing action, drama, and wit. If this film leans too heavily into the serious side, it risks alienating some of its core audience.
Yeah, that's a good point. And they really go after the visuals, calling them cheap, cheesy, and full of bad CGI.
That's a surprising criticism. Marvel Studios is typically known for its top-tier visual effects. If the review is accurate, it could point to a drop in quality, something you should definitely be aware of going into your meeting.
Yeah, definitely. The one bright spot they mention is Harrison Ford's performance as Red Hulk.
Oh, okay. Harrison Ford delivering a great performance. Color me shocked. But seriously, he's a legendary actor, so this is no surprise. The question is, can he elevate the material? Could his performance be the saving grace if other aspects of the film fall short?
It's possible. All right, so we got a lot to unpack here. On the one hand, Brave New World seems to be shaking things up, connecting to older films and potentially setting the stage for, huge things to come in the MCU.
Definitely seems that way.
On the other hand, we have concerns about the tone, the visuals, and whether Sam Wilson's Captain America can truly capture the hearts of audiences the way Steve Rogers did.
It's a high bar to reach.
So before we move on, I want to point out something interesting. That came up in the Time article about Bucky Barnes. They mention that he's running for Congress. It's quite a career change for a former brainwashed assassin, wouldn't you say?
A redemption arc, perhaps? It fits the themes of, second chances and moral complexity that often run through superhero stories.
Right.
But there's another layer here that's particularly interesting.
You're talking about him being part of the Thunderbolts, right?
Exactly.
We see him in the trailers, all decked out in gear, firing missiles. How does one reconcile being a politician with being on a team like that?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And this is where understanding Valentina Allegra de Fontaine comes in. She's the one putting this team together. You might remember her from Falcon and the Winter Soldier, where she was already recruiting powerful individuals with questionable pasts.
Yeah, she always seemed kind of shady. Okay, so she's clearly up to something, but what's her endgame? And how does Bucky, running for office, fit into all of this? I mean, is he a double agent? Is he trying to change the system from within?
It's a fascinating contradiction that will likely be explored in the Thunderbolts film. Is he truly reformed? Or are his darker impulses still lurking beneath the surface? It's this kind of moral ambiguity that makes these characters so compelling.
Right. The Time article also pointed out how Marvel is really pushing Sebastian Stan and Florence Pugh in the promos. Seems like they're hoping to capitalize on their star power to draw in those crowds.
It's a smart move from a marketing perspective. Stan and Pugh are both rising stars with dedicated fan bases. By putting them front and center, Marvel is signaling a shift towards a new generation of heroes, hoping to capture that same level of engagement they had with the original Avengers.
Right. But the article goes on to say that Marvel might be struggling to replace those original stars, not just in terms of box office, but in terms of creating characters we truly connect with. They mention Ant-Man, saying he was great for comic relief, but kind of floundered when he had to carry his own movie.
That's a challenge. Any long-running franchise faces how to keep the audience invested when the foundational characters are no longer the main focus. I wouldn't say Marvel is struggling, but they are experimenting. They're giving side characters more screen time, introducing new heroes, and yes, bringing in established names, like Harrison Ford, to try and maintain that level of excitement.
Right. Speaking of big names, the Time article dropped a bombshell. Robert Downey Jr. is returning to the MCU.
Whoa, really?
Not as Iron Man, though.
Well,
as Dr. Doom. in the upcoming Fantastic Four movie.
Now, that's a casting choice. That's sure to get people talking. Dr. Doom is one of Marvel's most, iconic villains. A complex character with a rich history. And who better to embody that complexity than Robert Downey Jr.? He has the acting prowess and the star power to really make this role memorable. It's a bold move, and it shows that Marvel is willing to take risks to keep the franchise fresh and exciting.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's recap what we know about the upcoming MCU slate. We've got Thunderbolts hitting theaters in May, then Fantastic Four in 2026, marking Downey Jr.'s grand return, and then the big one, Avengers, Secret Wars in 2027.
Secret Wars is going to be huge. It's the culmination of years of buildup, the clash of parallel universes, a potentially massive event that could redefine the MCU as we know it. Imagine entire realities colliding, alternate versions of our favorite heroes clashing. It's going to be epic.
That's what they're building towards. And even though Marvel is supposedly scaling back on their TV shows, they still have a ton coming out on Disney Plus this year. Daredevil, Born Again, 2 Wakanda Forever spinoffs, an animated series. I mean, they're not slowing down anytime soon.
It seems like Marvel is pursuing a multi-pronged approach. They're continuing to expand their television offerings while also focusing on those big screen spectacles. It's all about creating a diverse range of content to cater to different segments of their audience, keeping everyone engaged and excited about the future of the MCU.
It feels like Marvel is at a crossroads. They're grappling with the legacy of their past successes while trying to forge a new path forward. I mean, they built this incredible universe, but the original Avengers are mostly gone. How do you move on from something that big?
That's the challenge, isn't it? How do you honor the past while embracing the future? And that's where your role in this upcoming meeting becomes so crucial. You're not just attending a meeting about a movie. You're participating in a conversation about the future of a cultural phenomenon.
Wow, you're right. This is bigger than just superheroes and special effects. This is about how stories are told, how they evolve, and how they reflect the world around us.
Precisely. And speaking of reflecting the world, that German review had some interesting things to say about how Brave New World handles its political themes. They call it self-serious and criticized its lack of a clear political stance.
That brings us back to that question we were pondering earlier. Is Marvel struggling to find its footing in a world where the lines between entertainment and political commentary are increasingly blurred? I mean, do they lean into the complexities of the real world? Do they maintain a stance of escapist entertainment? Or is there some middle ground where they can address social issues without alienating their audience?
It's a delicate balance, and one that you'll likely be grappling with in your upcoming meeting. Think about it. We have Bucky, a former assassin, running for Congress, while simultaneously participating in, morally questionable missions with the Thunderbolt. That's a pretty loaded concept, rife with potential for exploring complex political and social themes. The German review suggests they might be shying away from taking a firm stance, opting for a more ambiguous approach.
Okay, so you're saying this meeting isn't just about marketing and box office numbers. It's about figuring out how the MCU navigates the complexities of the real world. That's a lot of pressure.
It's a fascinating challenge, and it's not just Marvel. It's something all storytellers are grappling with today. How do we reflect the world around us in a way that's both entertaining and thought-provoking?
Right, it's a tough balance. All right, so before we move on to our final thoughts, I want to know, what stood out to you from all of these sources? What are your initial impressions of Brave New World and the direction the MCU seems to be heading?
What intrigues me most is this tension between nostalgia and innovation. On the one hand, Marvel is leaning heavily on, familiar faces and storylines, trying to recapture the magic of their earlier phases, bringing back Robert Downey Jr. even as a different character. It's a pretty blatant play for that nostalgia factor.
Yeah, it's like they're trying to reassure fans that even though things are changing, they're still holding on to what made the MCU so successful in the first place.
Exactly. But at the same time, they're introducing new heroes, exploring multiversal concepts, and even venturing into the realm of, political commentary, albeit with mixed results, according to that German review. It's a balancing act, trying to please longtime fans, while also attracting new audiences and pushing the boundaries of the genre.
So going into this meeting, what are the key takeaways for our listener? What are the potential pitfalls, the big questions they need to be ready to discuss?
First and foremost, they need to understand the, interconnected nature of these stories. Brave New World isn't just a standalone film. It's a piece of a much larger puzzle. They need to see how it connects to previous films and how it sets the stage for future installments. They need to be able to speak to the broader context, the implications of these storylines, and the potential challenges they pose for the franchise as a whole.
Yeah, it's like they're not just analyzing a movie, they're analyzing a whole cinematic universe. Talk about a deep dive.
Exactly. And they need to be prepared to discuss the issue of star power. Marvel is clearly trying to attract big names to revitalize the franchise. But is that a sustainable strategy? Can they create new characters that resonate with audiences? Or will they always be reliant on familiar faces?
And what about the question of quality? That German review raised some concerns about the visual effects and the film's overly serious tone. Are those legitimate criticisms? That could impact audience reception, especially if Marvel is hoping to attract a wider audience.
Those are definitely points worth considering. And then, of course, there's the elephant in the room, the political element. We have the German review criticizing the film's handling of the political themes. And we have the Time article highlighting the potential for controversy surrounding Bucky Barnes' political career and his involvement with the Thunderbolts. It's a complex issue with no easy answers, but it's something our listener needs to be aware of and prepared to discuss thoughtfully and critically.
Okay, so you're saying our listener is walking into this meeting armed with a deep understanding of the interconnectedness of the MCU, an awareness of the challenges of replacing star power and maintaining quality, and a readiness to engage in a thoughtful discussion about the role of politics
in superhero storytelling.
They're well prepared to impress with their knowledge and insights. But before they head into that meeting, I'm going to leave them with one final thought. Think about this. What if Brave New World is more than just a sequel? What if it's a commentary on the very idea of legacy, of what it means to inherit a mantle as weighty as Captain America's?
Oh, okay. I like where you're going with.
Steve Rogers. He was this symbol of, hope, unwavering idealism. But this new world, this brave new world, as they call it, it's a lot more complicated, a lot less black and white.
Definitely.
It's a world where the president can turn into a raging Hulk, right? Where former assassins run for Congress, where reality itself is under threat from these, interdimensional forces. The old rules, they don't seem to apply anymore. So the question becomes, what does it even mean to be Captain America in this kind of world? Can Sam Wilson really live up to Steve Rogers' legacy, while also forging his own path?
That's a question that goes beyond just superhero stories. It's something we all grapple with.
Yeah.
In our own lives, right? How do we honor the past, the values we were raised with, while still facing the realities of the world as it is, messy and complicated as it may be?
Wow. Yeah, you're right. It's like those classic Captain America comics suddenly thrown into a modern political thriller. I hadn't thought of it that way before.
And think about that visual criticism from that German review. If the film is visually jarring, cheap as they put it, maybe that's intentional. Maybe it's reflecting how fractured and uncertain this world feels, even to Captain America.
Okay, that's a really interesting take. It's like the visual style itself is part of the storytelling, right? Reflecting the themes of disillusionment and uncertainty.
Exactly. And remember, we're just scratching the surface here. This is just one film in a massive, ever-evolving franchise. There are so many stories yet to be told, so many paths the MCU could take.
And that's what we do here at The Deep Dive, right? We take all this information, articles, reviews, even those random Wikipedia rabbit holes, and we help you find those deeper meanings, those thought-provoking questions, the connections. That might surprise you.
We're your guides to this world of information overload. We help you sift through all the noise and find those hidden gems of knowledge and insight, so you can walk into that meeting feeling confident and prepared.
Remember, dear listener, this deep dive is tailored just for you. We'd love to hear your thoughts after that meeting. What resonated with you? What surprised you? What did those executives have to say about all this? We're always eager to hear how these deep dives help you in the real world.
And this is just the beginning. Brave New World is just one chapter. In the ongoing saga of the MCU, there are countless stories left to tell, and we'll be here to help you navigate them every step of the way.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.
Think about this. What if Brave New World is more than just a sequel? What if it's a commentary on the very idea of legacy, of what it means to inherit a mantle as weighty as Captain America's?
Oh, okay. I like where you're going with this.
Steve Rogers, he was this symbol of, hope, unwavering idealism.
Yeah.
But this new world, this brave new world, as they call it, it's a lot more complicated, a lot less black and white.
Definitely.
It's a world where the president can turn into a raging Hulk, right? Where former assassins run for Congress, where reality itself is under threat from these interdimensional forces, the old rules, they don't seem to apply anymore.
So the question becomes, what does it even mean to be Captain America? In this kind of world, can Sam Wilson really live up to Steve Rogers' legacy while also forging his own path?
That's a question that goes beyond, just superhero stories. It's something we all grapple with in our own lives, right?
Yeah.
How do we honor the past, the values we were raised with, while still facing the realities of the world as it is, messy and complicated as it may be?
Wow. Yeah, you're right. It's like those classic Captain America comics suddenly thrown into a modern political thriller. I hadn't thought of it that way before.
And think about that visual criticism from that German review. If the film is visually jarring, cheap as they put it, maybe that's intentional. Maybe it's reflecting how fractured and uncertain this world feels, even to Captain America.
Okay, that's a really interesting take. It's like the visual style itself is part of the storytelling, right? Reflecting the themes of disillusionment and uncertainty.
Exactly. And remember, we're just scratching the surface here. This is just one film in a massive, ever-evolving franchise. There are so many stories yet to be told, so many paths the MCU could take.
And that's what we do here at the Deep Dive, right? We take all this information, articles, reviews, even those random Wikipedia rabbit holes, and we help you find those deeper meanings, those thought-provoking questions, the connections that might surprise you.
We're your guides to this world of information overload. We help you sift through all the noise and find those hidden gems of knowledge and insight so you can walk into that meeting feeling confident and prepared.
So remember, dear listener, this deep dive is tailored just for you. We'd love to hear your thoughts after that meeting. What resonated with you? What surprised you? What did those executives have to say about all this? We're always eager to hear how these deep dives help you in the real world.
And this is just the beginning. Brave New World is just one chapter. In the ongoing saga of the MCU, there are countless stories left to tell, and we'll be here to help you navigate them every step of the way.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.